What's going on, everyone? So the Houston Rockets have really been a surprise thus far this season. Now, it is early in the season. We've seen teams time and time again be top of the standings early on, and then kind of the law of averages kind of average out. Next thing you know, they're a play-in team or something like that. But Houston is playing very good basketball. They've been very good on both sides of the basketball. They have some very notable wins, and they're a team that is very young, very talented, and has been heavily linked to pretty much every star that's even rumored to be available, because they're doing a lot of this without a true star superstar, right? Şengün is incredibly young, incredibly talented, but he's not like a superstar yet, right? He's like their star. He's like their premier guy, right? But where does he rank? They don't have a top 10, top 15, even really a top 20 player on the roster, right? Jalen Green is having himself see, you have multiple guys. They're doing it collectively. They're incredibly deep, right? Young, athletic, right? They have all the tools to be a very good, very talented regular season team, but does anyone really believe that they're winning a championship this year, or that they're even getting to the conference finals this year? I mean, most Houston fans probably don't even think that they are a legit championship threat. I'm sure you're very excited if you're a Houston fan that you're at least, you're a good basketball team. And I think over the course of the regular season, I actually think that they're going to continue to be that. Right, I think because of their youth, their athleticism, the pieces that they have, I think that they're going to be a very good regular season team. Right, great example is a team, and you Houston fans have a guy on that team, and Dillon Brooks, right? The Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies were one of those teams, right? They were very young, they're fun to watch, right? They're usually at the top of the standings, but they get to the playoffs and they're losing in the first, second round, right? Because they're a very good, young, athletic, regular season team. They had a guy in Ja who, is a star, a superstar, right? People, some, depending on where you kind of rank him, I don't think he's a top 15 player in the league, but I think he's, top 20, 25, probably in that range, right? Wherever you rank him, right? He's still a very good basketball player, right? And you have guys like Desmond Baines, Triple J, winning Defensive Player of the Years and all that stuff, right? They are and were a young, fun, exciting team that was usually in the upper echelons of the standings. Kind of how I feel about Houston. They're a young, fun, exciting team that will probably finish, in the top 5 in the Western Conference. But I don't think that they're actually winning an NBA championship. Not until they get a real star, superstar type talent. So, who is that? There have been murmurs of them being linked to Jimmy Butler. No, you stay as far away from Jimmy Butler as possible. I like Jimmy Butler a lot. Doesn't fit the timeline. He doesn't make sense. You don't want to compromise if you're Houston. There's a very fine line that they're walking. You don't want to compromise your core foundation unless it's worth the risk. If you could get, Jokic, right? Here you go. Whatever you want, take it. You want that too? Tell you what, we'll even drop them off to you. Unless it's something like that. But there was talks this past offseason of Houston may shop Şengün and Jalen Green. Even after they signed their extension, there was talks of they may still look to move them at some point. Unless you're getting a star, maybe Giannis, right? Because he's still kind of there. But even Giannis, I think, is questionable. There's reports that Houston's dream target is Kevin Durant, although there was a report that came out yesterday that said that is a little overblown, that yes, they really do want Kevin Durant, but it's not, they're not willing to sell the farm for Kevin Durant. Just like reports came out that they're not willing to sell the farm for even Giannis, right? They don't want to compromise the young core. I think that is the right approach. I think if you're Houston has one of the best young cores in the entire NBA. Right? And I mean, Şengün's how old? He's 22? Right? I don't know. I don't think he's 23. I think he's 22, right? Like, you're talking about a 22. Like, what does he look like in 5 years, right? When he's in his prime, or 3 years when he's 25, right? Like, Jalen Green is still, like, their guys are young. They're not like 27, 28, 20. I mean, they, Fred VanVleet and guys like that. But I'm talking about like the core foundation guys. Jabari Smith, right? You got Tari Eason, right? You got Cam Whitmore, right? Like, you got all these young guys that are athletic and versatile and got a little bit of everything around, right? Like, I think if you're Houston, you have to stay the course. I think you'll wait for the right move or the right trade. Because the thing is like, okay, if you turn Sengun and Jalen Green into Kevin Durant, how much better are you? Right? Like, I think, Kevin Durant, like, you can't replace the experience, and, Kevin Durant is still top 15 player in the NBA, right? Like, the guy's still unbelievable, but you need those other pieces, right? Like, so, to me, I just think, if you're Houston, you got to stay the course. Last thing I want to see Houston do is Giannis does become available, and they're like, okay, let's sell everything. Go get Giannis, right? Like, okay, that's great, but now what? Okay, now you got, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Giannis, Jeff Green, right? Like, okay, cool, but now what? Right? Like, you're hoping either somebody else emerges into a star, or you're hoping that you can now go and attract another star to come. Now, if you could pair two stars, like if KD was like, hey, kind of like the Clippers, right? Where it's like, or, Brooklyn with Kyrie, where it's like, if Kevin Durant's like, hey, if you go get Giannis, I'll come to you. Type thing, right? Because he needs a new extension or whatever, so he could end up leaving Phoenix, and I think he's got like one more year, I think. So something like that, right? Like, if it's something along those lines, then sure, right? If it's like, okay, we go and trade for Giannis this offseason, and then we just gotta wait a year, and Kevin Durant comes, right, and like talk to Giannis and just be like, hey, buddy, just to let you know, we're gonna go trade for you, and yeah. It's probably not going to be ideal the first year, but Kevin Durant's coming in the offseason, right? Like, if it's something like that, where you can kind of like, you can get 2 stars, then sure, right? Because then at that point, you just need to kind of fill out around them. But I don't want to see Houston make that mistake, because they are a team that wants to win. And, the Fertittas and all that, like, they want to win. Right? Like, you have an ownership, you have an organization that they want to win. And a lot of times you see, okay, well, let's go take the gamble. Let's roll the dice here a little bit. Right? They are on the right path. They are on the right trajectory. Stay the course. Wait for that right piece. Wait for that right move. And it's also part of the, if you build it, they will come. Right? Like, if you're a star away, right? Say Luka, right? In a couple seasons. Or like Anthony Edwards or something like that in a couple seasons is like, all right, like, they got Sengun, they got, Tari Eason, and he's really emerged as this, legit 3-and-D win. Cam Whitmore is just like this vacuum two-way guy, right? Like, and their young guys start to kind of mold into their own, and you get one of those stars that see that and go, man, you add me to that roster, we're winning a championship. That's where you want to be, right? You want to be that team that's like, okay, if they get him, or again, if you can get that bona fide thing where it's like, okay, we can go get, Giannis and KD, right? Like, there's very few guys that if I'm Houston, I would compromise what you have for, right? Obviously, a guy like Luka, Wemby, but that's not ever going to happen. I'm just the names of guys that, like, if you're Houston, you're like, all right, you sell the farm for. But outside of like these young super duper stars, Anthony Edwards is another one, which none of those guys are probably going to be available anytime soon. So again, if you're Houston, why, like, is Giannis worth compromising your future for? I don't think so. Is Kevin Durant worth compromising your future for? No. Right? Now, if you could get both, okay, maybe. Right? But again, what do you have to give up to go get Giannis? Because you still want enough talent around those guys. So it depends. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion and I pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you think like, yes, stay the course, do not go crazy, do not chase superstars? Or do you think like, no, if you can get Kevin Durant, go get Kevin Durant. If you can get Giannis, go get Giannis, right? Or do you think like, no, only get if you can get multiple, then sure. Otherwise, again, stay the course. Because again, you look at a team like, OKC a couple years ago, not this current version of OKC, right? They pop in my head because Houston, James Harden ended up going to Houston. But it's like, if they would have just stayed the course, they probably would have won 2, 3, 4 championships, if not more, right? Like, they would have been Golden State before Golden State. Like, they just stayed the course. They would have won championship, if not several, right? Like, they were in the NBA Finals. But then they were like, okay, and that wasn't chasing a star. That was just they didn't want to pay James Harden. But you've seen teams just make the mistake. Do not make the mistake. Stay the course. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So I enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.